Good afternoon. I'm Jenna Harris, Policy Advisor to Mayor Paul Tenhaken. I apologize, Mayor is unable to join us, so I'm here speaking on his behalf and representing his office. Thank you. Addressing childcare challenges requires various strategies coming together in a collaborative effort. Sioux Falls is not unique in the challenges that we're facing and experiencing right now regarding childcare for families, but we are definitely trying to implement some solutions and strategies to help ease some of the burdens that our community is feeling. But it's important that we are very strategic with these solutions and supply more childcare spots in a very sustainable and safe way, and not throwing a Band-Aid on the problem for a short time, but rather kind of having some longevity in these solutions. The Governor's Office of Economic Development presented a unique opportunity earlier this year with an implementation grant to provide funding for our community to implement some solutions that had been discovered or recommended from the Childcare Collaborative's study report that was released last year. And the Sioux Falls Development Foundation gathered all of the partners that you'll hear from today, among other, and as well as others, to kind of maximize these grant dollars and go from a few different fronts on these solutions. Startup Sioux Falls, Lutheran Social Services of South Dakota, the Helpline Center, Sioux Falls Thrive, and the Childcare Collaborative, and the City of Sioux Falls are all a part of this collaborative grant effort. And the GOED funding will provide support programs hosted through Startup Sioux Falls and Lutheran Social Services to recruit entrepreneurs and give them the tools necessary to start their own daycares. And you'll hear more about that from Lutheran Social Services and Startup Sioux Falls. So we're very grateful to GOED for giving our community over $284,000 to implement these solutions. And a portion of the funds will also go for the Helpline Center's efforts to provide a software platform that will allow more real-time data for childcare availability for not only providers but families as well. Today, we really just want to highlight the efforts that are being made right now with Startup Sioux Falls and Lutheran Social Services to recruit entrepreneurs who are interested in starting their own in-home daycare or being trained to work or run a child care center. So with that, I would love to introduce Sarah Lum, Vice President of Startup Sioux Falls.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Sarah Lum. I'm the Vice President of Startup Sioux Falls, and we are thrilled to be part of this partnership to provide some business training support to childcare founders in the Sioux Falls community. As Jenna mentioned, we were part of a planning grant that was facilitated by the Governor's Office of Economic Development, and we have been collecting some information from our community over the past few months. Among several things, one of the things that we heard is that many childcare business owners get into business because they love children, and sometimes the business training support is not always there, and the process can feel complex and confusing. And so through our partnership, we're hoping that we can help alleviate some of those challenges. And a few of the things that we have planned for the implementation part of this grant include hosting a weekend boot camp for aspiring business owners that will take place in June, followed by a 10-week business program immediately following that. Additionally, because the challenges of starting a childcare business are unique, we're putting together a Getting Started guide specifically for starting a childcare business. Additionally, we will have a childcare entrepreneur in residence, so someone who has previously started a childcare business who will be there to support these founders and entrepreneurs as they navigate the process. And lastly, and others can speak to this as well, there are some startup funds available for some of the graduates of these programs. To learn more, you can visit startupsiouxfalls.com/childcare. With that, I'll introduce Laura Smith-Hill from LSS.
Laura Smith-Hill, Lutheran Social Services Education Services Supervisor at the Center for New Americans. Thank you to the state of South Dakota, Mayor Tenaken's office, the Development Foundation, and Startup Sioux Falls for the opportunity to partner in this project. Our services are available to provide English language, literacy, citizenship and workforce, and career training for multilingual adult learners of English. Serving more than 600 students a year, one of our offerings is an Introduction to Childcare course, and since 2022, we've partnered with Startup Sioux Falls to provide some multilingual supports to the Co-Starters program, which is the Business Accelerator program. During the planning phase of this project, LSS had interest from 75 ethnic community leaders and prospective daycare providers from 14 countries, indicating a strong desire and interest and need for access to training in both childcare and entrepreneurship content, weekday evenings and Friday afternoons for up to 50 people. So through this project, LSS is excited to facilitate 2 10-week training cohorts of the Introduction to Childcare course, also offered in partnership with the Department of Labor and Regulation Adult Education and Literacy Program. This project expands access to additional participants. That training will equip people with the certifications needed to become state licensed. And the second phase of this training will be 2 concurrent cohorts of a 12-week multilingual Co-Starters Business Accelerator in partnership with Startup Sioux Falls. This 2-phase training began last week, May 1st, with 45 participants. Those who successfully complete will be eligible to apply for some startup funding. I thought I'd mention that 2 of the registered participants in this program are current daycare providers. One from Iraq has been operating her daycare for 22 years. And the second, from Burundi, attended the Introduction to Childcare class 12 years ago at Lutheran Social Services. They're joining the second portion of the training because they've never had the opportunity to attend business training and are looking to expand their offerings. Their daycares currently serve families. Over 90% are native to South Dakota and are an inspiring example of the compassionate quality childcare that our diverse residents are eager to provide in service to our community. The LSS portion of this project has the capacity to support 40 to 50 multilingual entrepreneurs in opening registered and licensed family daycares. And those interested in being involved can reach out by phone or text to LSS. The phone number is 731-2000 and text is 605-403-7813. Thank you, and we're now available for any questions.
So the more than $284,000, that's all geared towards childcare training. Is it accurate to categorize that as that?
So the aggregate amount is just over $284,000, and that encompasses the childcare training for entrepreneurs as well as the Helpline's software platform to get some of that real-time data and connect parents with providers.
What is this platform supposed to look like? How will it operate? How will it kind of benefit these childcare providers and parents?
The platform through Helpline or the training platform?
Yeah, the whatever you called it, the software platform.
Shauna, do you want to come up and talk a little bit about that? This is Shauna Batchelor with the Helpline Network.
Hello, I'm Shauna Batchelor, Program Director at the Helpline Center. So the software technology will help connect families to childcare providers. It's much more easy to search. It can offer texting options to connect families and childcare. Families will be able to favorite their childcare providers. It gives a lot of information, like, for example, if they offer transportation for before and after school or school age children. other ways to make it much easier to find childcare. So all of the new childcare providers that are being trained and then starting their own businesses, they can get listed in this database and then allow families to be able to search.
And when do you anticipate that becoming operational?
Our goal is to have a good chunk of that done by September. We're still waiting on some details to be worked out with the grant and then getting started with the software company.
Hi, so my question is kind of why put all of these funds with the grant towards this entrepreneur program instead of already existing daycares and childcares in Sioux Falls?
Sure, that's a great question. So the goal of this is to increase spots. So we're hearing from the community is there's a shortage of childcare spots for children. So we kind of took this approach to how do we increase that pipeline? How do we get more spots for parents to find care for their children? And this also was one of the recommendations that came out of the Childcare Collaborative's report last year as a way to, like Sarah mentioned, I mean, daycare providers are really great at caring for kids, and there's probably a lot of them out there. And what we're finding through the high enrollment through Lutheran Social Services program is that there are a lot out there who may be really great and passionate about caring for children, but really don't know where to start in terms of running a business. And so we're trying to reduce as many barriers as we possibly can for those individuals to say, hey, let's give you all the training, let's make it as easy as possible so that you can do what you love and provide more spots for the community.
And my next question that I have for you is what time frame can parents kind of anticipate this, the people who are enrolling in the training process to be up and ready for kiddos?
Oh, that's a great question. Are we looking at end of the year, we think? Is that correct? I think it's probably safe to say that by the end of this year, we will have at least some of them open. Now, everyone's timeline is different. It's going to depend on what needs they have for their individual residents or if they're building a facility, but I do think it's pretty reasonable to expect that we will have at least some online by the end of this calendar year. Mm-hmm.
By some online, you mean newly trained childcare centers that weren't previously options for parents in the area?
Centers or in-home daycares. Mm-hmm.
So with this announcement, what else is kind of the city doing to help with the childcare crisis beyond this? Like what else is part of the response to that?
Sure. So the Childcare Collaborative's report came out with several recommendations, and of course, there's a lot of need, and there's a lot of ways that you can kind of go about this problem and challenge that our community is facing. These are just two ways right now that we're working toward. But also I think it's important to recognize that it takes a whole community to really address this challenge, and the city or government is probably not going to be the complete answer, which is why we have all these great partners involved here. And so I do think that this is far from going to be the silver bullet that solves all the challenges, but it's definitely a start.
So sorry. With the people who are going through this program, are you guys going to kind of monitor how much maybe tuition is for their childcare, or is that fully going to be all on them to kind of come up with as a business owner?
Would one of you like to speak to kind of your pricing model business training that you're going to go through with them?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Will there kind of be you guys monitoring how much these childcare services will be for those going through the entrepreneur training, or will that be something they kind of come up with on their own?
I think as part of the business training, they'll be coming up with their pricing on their own. However, one of the goals of this program is to generate some daycares that are state licensed, and in order to access certain benefits at the state level, you have to have that state licensure in order to serve some LMI individuals, et cetera. So.
For the training for people who want to start a childcare or daycare business, is that going to be affordable and free, or? Yeah.
Yes, so part of this funding is going to provide the program at no cost to participants. And Laura and Jenna also mentioned the startup funds that graduates will have access to. So that's one of the things we heard in the focus groups, is that the startup cost can be a barrier for many people starting a business.
And then do you know if Sioux Falls is like the only city in the state doing this with these GOED grant monies?
So, sorry, I was consulting with some of our Development Foundation partner over there, who's running the grant through our community. But I believe Rapid City has a similar program. But the funds were distributed throughout the state, and every community kind of has its own take. Some are building centers, some are doing grants just for people to start daycares, but not the training. Some are doing training, so everyone kind of got to do their own approach that fits their community's needs.
Since it is going to be free of cost for people to go through this program, I'm sure there will be kind of a strenuous background check you guys will be doing. Kind of what will that look like, if you have any idea?
It's a good question. So we actually do have background checks written into the grant funding, just to make sure that someone's not going through the program and then they haven't passed a background check.